Hey, so in my last video I touched on the idea of singularity, the theory of singularity, this idea that the universe, the known universe, was once, long time ago, compact into a single tiny particle that after the Big Bang had expanded and exploded into what we now know as the universe and is, as far as I know, presently still expanding. Um, and I wanted to kind of keep along with that. But there's something interesting that I wanted to point out for those of you who happen to own a Bible and who may share a belief in it and its inspiration. But I do have here with me a New King James Version. Um, but this idea of a singularity or a common origin of everything, basically. Something interesting I found in Genesis that sounds strangely familiar when you look back on it. That I thought I'd like to point out. So if you go to Genesis 1, in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth. I'm reading straight out of the scripture right now. The earth was without form and void, and darkness was over the face of the deep. And the Spirit of God was hovering over the face of the waters. Then God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. God saw the light, and that it was good, and God divided the light from the darkness. Now my point here being that one of the key words you find in the first few verses of Genesis, this word, and I've read it in several different translations, New King James, NIV, things like this. The word that is constantly used in the first few verses of creation in this account is divide, or separate, or put apart. So to me, when I first stumbled on that, looking back on it, with this singularity idea in mind, as far as the modern science is concerned, with the origin of the universe, that everything was once one, everything had a common origin, everything we see had a common origin. It seems to me that that idea is not as new as it seems, because in Genesis we see in the first couple verses that word being said a number of times, that idea of divide, separate, divide, and then he separated, then he divided, etc., etc. I think this is interesting because it shows that as far as Genesis is concerned, it's almost like God created the world as a whole, but then divided and divided and divided. Which many critics of the creation, which to some extent I am one of them, as far as I don't believe word for word everything in Genesis as to, this literally happened. There literally was a tree, there literally was a talking snake, things like this. We'll get into that later, but I don't share that belief. However, this idea that everything came from a single unit, and that this unit, by some force, in Genesis God is given as the force, it was separated or divided. It was broken down and down and down to create variations. So it began as a single, but was broken down and down and down. And I don't know if that was purposeful. I don't know. I just thought that it was an interesting correlation there as far as modern science and biblical creation account. And that's what I wanted to bring up in this. But if you have any thoughts, feel free to comment, and of course I would love to hear them, and I will respond, and thank you for watching.